Hi there. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of The Green Room. Today's topic is very simple, fit for purpose, Black women in the workplace. If you haven't heard yet, over 300,000 Black women have left the workforce this year and this year alone. 66% of Black women make up the workforce. And so this is a weird situation that we're experiencing right now when it comes down to Black women working. Earlier this year, we heard that C-suite women, Black women, 70% of them had left the workforce in about 18 months or so. And so today we're exploring the conversation of why this is, but more importantly, how we overcome this. When we talk about being fit for purpose, each and every one of us has a unique set of gifts and talents that exist in us. And sometimes we use those in the workplace and sometimes we don't, but a lot of times we use those in the workplace. And so rather than accepting defeat, we want to figure out how we overcome this challenge. And we also want to explore why this is actually happening. I'm not having this conversation on my own today. This topic is going to be covered by three of our esteemed panelists today. We have Paula Bell, our host. We also have Debra Carr, one of our guests, and Artist Kelly, one of our guests. Welcome, ladies.
Hi, thank you.
Thank you.
We're so happy y'all are here. Are y'all excited about this topic?
Oh, 100%.
Well, it could be a daunting one, but I want to make sure that we talk about the problem because some people may not know that this is a problem. We might all have girlfriends that have left the workplace in this year, or we might know of someone that has, but needless to say, we want to have this conversation in such a way that we're encouraging people to move forward. But just as a show of hands, how many of us know a Black woman who has left the workplace this year? Do we know more than one? Yeah, everyone is raising their hands. And so we can experience this through friendships and through relationships. And so we know it's happening. Why do we think this is happening? It's a loaded question.
It is.
Well, I believe that there are a number of reasons that attributed to Black women leaving the workforce right now. I think about finding a place where you feel like you belong, where you feel like that you can fully perform and just be your authentic self in a workplace that allows you to not only just be mentored, but sponsored for higher opportunities, those stretch assignments, those ways that you can really explore and expand on your knowledge, skills, and abilities. Many times people feel trapped and stuck in like low-end kinds of jobs, and they're not given the opportunity to fully just take opportunities to expand.
Debra, you said in an article that you recently wrote, you said Black women are not struggling in this economy because we lack merit. We are struggling because the rules keep shifting whenever we show up prepared and qualified. What did you mean by that?
Well, what I mean is oftentimes we take the opportunity to invest in ourselves, invest in our education through formal education, through certifications, through lived experiences. And in the workplace, oftentimes people look at that as, oh, this person may have this job because of affirmative action or because of some DEI policy, something to that effect, when in actuality, the research shows that Black women invest in themselves and in their education. And quite frankly, they're one of the most educated and qualified beings in the workforce. But in spite of that, when you look at leadership and where we fall, oftentimes you don't see us there.
Mm-hmm. I'm probably one of the few on this panel that has the least amount of education credentials. What are your credentials?
I'm a licensed master social worker, also a business consultant, and certified in crisis prevention, intervention, and financial services. So it seemed like along my career, I was told, get more education, you're going to get that big promotion, you'll get that big job. And what I found, and not only for myself, for others I know as well, the goalpost just kept moving, the criteria kept changing, and then all of a sudden you become, oh, you're overqualified for that job. So I just find that very interesting as I've navigated the workforce over the years and see just how things have shifted and changed, and the struggle that I see my sisters experiencing despite investing in themselves and taking those initiatives.
Artists, talk a little bit more about your credentials and the
Yeah.
space in which you work and how the intersections of, or, I won't even say intersections, the presence of Black women. How do y'all take up space in your field? Because it's a very unique one with regard
Yeah.
to Black women entering it.
Yes, thank you. So I guess as far as credentials, I'll just start with my education because I don't consider myself highly credentialed, but I have done some things. So I got my bachelor's in linguistics and psychology from UCLA and my master's of accounting from USC, which is the University of Southern California, not South Carolina. I am a CPA. I'm licensed both in California and here in Iowa, and I am an accountant. So and maybe there are a ton of us out there, but I don't know a lot of Black female CPAs or even Black male CPAs. And I know they're here, but they're not like coming across my space here in Des Moines, Iowa, which is okay. But it does put me in a really interesting position where I am one of few Black female finance executives. And what's so tough about that is it's not ordinary, it's exceptional because I'm one, and it shouldn't be that. I shouldn't be exceptional, I should be ordinary. So it does make you feel like you have to be something really unusual because you're the only one, and it shouldn't be that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Paula, you're in financials, or you have been in financial services in the past. And so talk about your credentials and how you've navigated, finding individuals like yourself in the space.
So I would say I would start with my college as well. So I have a bachelor's of science in management information systems. So business analysis, business and computer science, essentially. And then I'm also a master life coach. I'm a Six Sigma black belt, Lean Six Sigma black belt. I am
Black belt is in like.
Well, I'm also a martial artist.
Oh,
black
so
belt.
you got two black belts.
I do.
She's a double
So
black
yeah, so
belt.
I have that, but
I didn't know
for
Six Sigma had a black belt.
Yes,
Yes,
like
they
white
do.
belt, green, yellow belt, green belt,
Yes.
black belt. You get to black, and then there's advanced black too. So it's like
Yes.
master black.
Master black.
I'm not master black.
Okay.
I'm good with just the black belt. So I'm certified in that. I also have a lot of different other certifications, but specifically I want to call out something that you said, Artist, as well, business analysis. So business analysis, which is, a lot of people don't understand what business analysis is. When I say I'm certified, I'm internationally certified in business analysis, they think what I do is analytics on businesses, and that's not what it is. It's gathering requirements to transform organizations to build the solutions that they need. What I found when I started in that field, there weren't a lot of people that looked like me. That is a high-paying field. You can make some money in project management and business analysis, right? And so I got into the point where I was like, I need to find more people who look like me and alert them that this field is out here and that you have the skill and credentials to do it. And so I had to go out there and share that knowledge. But to Debra's point, the challenges I ran into in corporate, as you talk about the different industries that I've worked in, is that goalpost moved. So at first you're told, well, all you need to do is do this. You do that, and then you're told, well, times have changed, now you need to do this. You do this, and then when you do this, it's still not enough, right? So I did go through some of that in my career as well as I was going through business analysis, business process, leadership. I will say I was one of the fortunate ones and lucky ones that I did very well in the financial industry as far as climbing the corporate ladder, but it was not without challenge. It was not without a fight. I felt like I fought really hard to prove myself where I didn't feel that others had to do the same. I had to put in the same energy to do that. And so I have to agree with everything that's being said here. Everything that's been said so far, I've actually experienced. from a standpoint of the goalposts moving, for a standpoint of being the only one who was in that field or did that thing. So, and I'm highly credentialed. I can't list all of them right now. So I have a lot of different credentials in a lot of different spaces, and I still struggle, y'all. I still struggle. I still have to prove myself day in and day out. I still have to, even when I've hit the highest, I still got to go and hit even higher. It's it's just like a constant struggle that you go through. And it's draining. It's exhausting.
So when we think about the number of women who are leaving the workforce right now, Black women who are leaving the workforce, the few Black women who are in leadership positions, I think about, I'm always going to probably bring up a sports analogy. I can't imagine that all of corporate America has a target on Black women's backs. I refuse to imagine that or even come to terms with that presumption. But what I can see based on the mere numbers is that corporate America is out of practice when it comes down to engaging, hiring, retaining high quality talent in Black women. And when I say they're out of practice, there's not enough of us in the workforce for them to get the practice, to figure out how they do it. From my vantage point, there was the lens of DEI that gave them a pathway to do that, but that lens is somewhat dismantled. So what is the pathway for corporations to connect with Black women in such a way that they are retaining them and lifting them up and providing opportunities for advancement in the workplace?
I have a very specific thought about that. And the last employer that I had employee resource groups, and we had a Black resource group, and our goal was to go beyond just retention, hiring and retaining. Because that sometimes is where people just end with it, and that's like, oh, you can go out to lunch with your fellow African Americans, or you can have these, Black History Day week exercises. But really, it's the promotion and the development that is going to matter. So we got to do more than just retaining Black women. You got to develop them and promote them and put them into positions that are not just those visual optic positions that's DEI focused. No, but put them into positions that's about the business, positions where they have P&L responsibilities. This is just if you're in the business space, where their position actually matters to the business and it's not optics. And I also think what happens when you get, why I think a lot of Black women are leaving, is the ones that are in the position and are motivated and ambitious and have goals for themselves, they will eventually find that they've outgrown the opportunities there, the real opportunities that are presented to them, and they make a decision of either I stay here and I die a slow death, or I go somewhere where I can take my basket of goodies and bring it to a place where I can really make a difference. Because we outgrow the company. As we get developed, we outgrow it if those other opportunities to keep reaching are not there.
That's good.
That's what I think.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what you're saying is it's one thing to create community in the workplace, but community alone does not advance the individual. We still have to have the focus on the individual.
Yes. And I think of the cultural responsivity of the leaders and really where systems are aligned with equitable practices throughout the organization. So you're looking beyond just recruiting someone into the organization, but understanding how does diversity really add value to the bottom line, and whether it's a corporate company or a nonprofit organization, at the end of the day, you want to make a difference, you want to make an impact. So embracing a person's lived experience along with their education and allowing people to have the opportunity to learn, thrive, and grow along with the company. And if it is a progressive organization, whether it be a corporate company or a nonprofit organization, you are leveraging the skills and talents of the assets that you have within your organization and really looking at who you have and the strengths that they bring. Not only what they do, but who they are really matters. And knowing how to leverage that and not feel threatened or just be comfortable because I have the only one in the room, and that's enough. Ask yourself another question. Why is it just only one? Mm-hmm. What am I missing in my company? What else could I add? So when you think about companies being strengths-based and asset-oriented, you're looking at all of those things and staying curious. That helps you really take a look critically at your alignment, the talent that you have, and what you need to move forward.
You know, I can agree with both of these because when I was at a financial institution, I was in the DEI space very heavy, and I led the Black African American connection at one point and served in many different leadership roles. And I would always get asked, Paula, why can we not keep Black African Americans here? And the first thing I would say to them is because they don't advance. You get them here and they're stuck. Mm-hmm. They don't advance. They don't see people who look like them mm-hmm. in C-suite or in even higher just levels of management than they are. And that is looked at. In addition to, they don't feel they can bring their authentic self to work. Mm-hmm. I would hear that a lot of code switching. That was yes. the word then. A lot of code switching to where they would have to go into rooms and change up who they were for their voice to even be heard. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Where they could say the same thing that someone who doesn't look like them said, and the other person is fine, but if we say it, there is a stereotype that gets attached to us, right? And so I said, it's those things to your cultural responsiveness and to your career advancement. I've seen it for myself as a hiring manager in that financial institution, because I used to hire. Mm-hmm. So you best believe I used to challenge a lot of things that I would see, not only that I would see that I'd been through, but that all of that is true. It is definitely advancing and developing and adding value, feeling like you're adding value yes. more than being an optic or visibility.
Yeah, I want to add to that, though. When there are accountability measures from the top and throughout the organization, then DEI and equity is really embedded across everything the organization does. So there's not just an affinity group for one group of people, but it's who we are and it's what we do. And so you're looking beyond just where am I now, what are my hiring goals, but who's leading us? Mm-hmm. And how do we know and evaluate and assess, are we leveraging the gifts and talents of all the people on our team? And when you do those sorts of things, you're now using the gifts and talents of all people as an asset rather than a liability, mm-hmm. and not something that I'm legally required to do. I'm doing it because I recognize that it's good for business.
Mm-hmm. You know, when you talk about just the earnings gaps and the challenges with regard to advancing, Katica Roy wrote in an article that closing the earnings gap for Black women could generate $300 billion
yes.
in revenue and 1.2 million jobs across the country. There are people that are suggesting that the institutions in which these Black women are leaving are becoming stagnant or irresponsible at this point in time, liking it to the Kansas City Chiefs losing Patrick Mahomes yesterday. Like, that would be irresponsible for them not to be able to keep their franchise quarterback. Others are suggesting that Black women are franchise-like employees based on the value that mm-hmm. we add to an organization, and the fact that that value is being diminished when it exits the workforce. What's corporate America's response to it? And so I'm curious, from you all's vantage point, is this a lack of responsiveness when it comes down to these companies not being able to retain? And should they be held accountable? Because I think to myself, there is no group of people that that society would say would be okay for me not to engage. Like, I am responsible for engaging with any type of person that approaches me in my field, and I have to treat them with respect and dignity. There is no other option. And if I didn't do that, then that's a bad mark against me. However, what we're seeing is that the treatment of Black women, the expectation is not that we keep Black women, that we retain them, and that we advance them, but that we deal with them.
You know, I think the problem, and it is a problem, the fundamental problem is that people have deep down biases, and they just do. And until we can change human behavior, which we will not be allowed to see that, the biases are there. So, and this goes back to something you said, I think you do have to force it or create some type of an actual numeric gauge to make sure that what biases, the problems that biases are causing, can be corrected by actual empirical evidence. And if we can get actual numbers and actual measurements to show, no, something's different, I think that's when it's going to start to matter. But unless we start taking those numbers, looking at the number of Black women leaving the workforce, understanding why they're leaving, and actually paying attention to that, and it's not okay that they're leaving, but understanding why, I think that's when it's going to start to make a difference, because you can't change how people feel yet. You can't. We can't. We are here to protect ourselves. It's kind of that, self-protection thing. You protect your own. So that's just there. So we need a little help with some actual numbers to keep track of who's coming, who's leaving, who's advancing, real numbers to show it, to override the, well, I'm pretty sure I'm okay, right? I feel okay. I'm not, I don't have a problem with people of color. Well, you probably do. And so sometimes numbers and data has to help show that and be a platform to do action off of, not a feeling, but actual numbers, actual data.
That's why when you embed those types of practices at the top, you are quantifying the data. You are looking at why people are leaving, and you're looking at the impact on your company and your business when they do. So when I think about an organization that's fit for purpose, they're curious, they're transparent, they ask themselves the tough questions, they look at who is here with us, what am I missing? And so those sorts of ideals and concepts are modeled then throughout the organization. And when you think about humility, we're losing that in the workplace. That lived experience and just acknowledging and recognizing the value someone brings, not look at difference as a threat, but rather an asset. Because how you approach problem solving may be different. But leveraging all of that in a multilingual, multicultural, global economy that we live in, we have to open our eyes and recognize the value that diversity brings. It just really floors me that thinking about a diverse society, which is what we live in, being a threat. I mean, it's absolutely ludicrous and ridiculous to me to even think that certain terms and words can't be used in the workplace because they've been weaponized.
There's this quote that says that your greatest enemy will find your greatest strength and convince you that it is a weakness.
Powerful.
Wow. Wait, can you say that again?
Your greatest enemy will find your
down.
greatest strength and persuade you that it is a weakness. And you talk about our strength and all of our differences. Again, we're all born on this earth to live a unique journey. No one could live our journey but ours. And what we are suggesting in so many ways across our country now is that we don't want that value add. We don't want that uniqueness at the table. We want status quo. But I'm curious, when we're talking about solutions, we talked about the workplace, finding ways to advance women, finding ways to retain. But what are some of the other characteristics of that fit for purpose working environment? What does that look like? Because I'm sure there's someone listening to this to say, okay, DEI is gone. It's gone. It's dead. Look, for me, I got 3 letters of my name back. DEI, DRE. I was in Dillard's like, give me your email. DEI. No, say it again. DEI.
Definitely
DEI
earned it.
Dillard's.
That's what DEI means for me.
And so, but we don't need a title. We don't need a
That's right.
title. We just need action. So what are some of those action steps that employers can do to engage, to retain, and to advance?
So can I jump in here really quick and just add something as you two think of that, right? I want to jump back to something around data really quick. 100% agree. You need data, but you need data integrity. I have seen where people will take data and they will massage that data to tell a different story. So all I will say is if you're going to bring in data analytics, make sure who's ever on that data analytics team or who's ever the governance of that data has integrity.
Yeah.
To make sure that no matter what that data comes back with, whether good, bad, or indifferent, they give you the true data so you can make informed decisions. I just had to put that out there.
No, that's fact. And you can tell when you have the numbers, look at who's around the table and ask yourself who isn't and why. So we do know that the story that we tell ourselves becomes our truth. And if you see data that favors one reality, but when you look around and you see something is missing, then that comes back on you. That's where the integrity comes in. That's where humility comes in. And that's where intentionality comes in as well.
And I think it goes back to what you said earlier about, who's ultimately responsible for the culture and the decisions that are made and what the numbers mean and what you're going to do about it. It's at the top.
Yes.
It is 100% at the top. It could be in the middle levels, but if the top is like, nope, that's not where we're going, then there's nothing you can do. So it does have to be at the top so they can take the data and tell the right story.
And model it as well.
Right.
And I think opportunities for sponsorship, not just mentorship, but really sponsoring.
Intentional.
And
What is that? Talk about
well,
that.
when I think about sponsoring, I mean investing in the assets a person brings, learning more about their abilities, their hopes, their dreams, their desires, what they want to do, how does that align with the company and where the company is trying to grow to. And then building those unique opportunities and those stretch opportunities to take someone along with you and not be threatened by the gifts that they bring. So the climate is one that's open, it's intentional, it's inviting, and it really just brings people in and meets them where they are and helps them by sponsoring those opportunities for creating leadership opportunities. No matter where you are in the organization, you might be entry level, but there are opportunities to take on different tasks, to learn from more seasoned employees that are in the company, to really take a real interest and create those opportunities.
I think the sponsor, a proper sponsor has to be someone that is at a higher level.
Yes.
Because someone who could actually impact, create the opportunities that you're talking about. And have the conversations with the other executives to say, hey, I want to move this person into this position or give this person this opportunity or to create it, which is different from a mentor who might not have that type of ability. Because you could have sideway mentors, you could have mentors that are outside of the organization. But a sponsor is someone actually in the organization who has the influence to open the doors.
So I can give you all an actual example.
All right.
That.
Yeah.
So those who are listening in, because I have mentors, advisors, sponsors, right? Let me give you an example of a sponsor. So I had a sponsor at this financial institution. I was trying to get into management, y'all. I did not have direct reports. So it was like this vicious cycle. Well, every time they wrote the job description, have you ever directly managed someone? Well, I've indirectly, but I haven't directly. I never had the title. So the job description was stopping me from meeting the qualifications, right? There was a job description that was written by, and I'm going to say it's a white woman, and there's a reason I'm saying this, because there's a reason behind this story. She wrote this job description. She didn't use the word management. She said leadership. Okay? Oh. So she says, I need someone who can lead. I don't need somebody who's had direct reports. I need someone who can lead. Cool. I had a sponsor who was very high in the organization, actually led a whole department in the organization, was pretty much the executive vice president. Mm-hmm. He wrote a reference to that manager, an email, sponsoring me for that position. Then I had my other mentors who also were very high in the organization. I was very fortunate again. They all wrote emails. Now, I didn't know all this was happening behind the scenes, right? I'm just going through the interview process, like normal interview process. So I get the job offer. So she tells me the reason why you got the job offer so quick, I didn't have to do a reference check because I had 6 people who sent me emails about you get the job, right? Mm-hmm. And she knew all these 6 people. Yeah. But why she changed the job description is because her partner had a black son. So she was in a biracial relationship and she understood some of the challenges that happened. She took that knowledge and leveraged it in her position. Now, she wasn't looking necessarily for a person of color per se, but she also knew that that's a barrier for people to be able to get into management positions because of how the job description was written. So through her knowledge and her experience and through my sponsor, that's how I got into my first management position.
Wow.
And that's important to bring up about skills. A lot of times it's not necessarily who you know, but who knows you, who knows your work. And when we think about competency-based hiring, those sorts of practices help move beyond the melanin in a person's skin and really look at what can they do? What are they bringing? I think those things are important too. So what you described is an actual, just really awesome way to have somebody look at what you're bringing to a space and speak your name even when you don't even know your name is being spoken, and be intentional about creating that space and opportunities. And that doesn't happen often.
Yeah. I'm glad y'all mentioned that because I think mentorship is very common. Yeah. Sponsorship is not as common. And in fact, I didn't learn about sponsorship until about late 2021, early 2022. I was running for office and someone walked up to me and said, "Who's your sponsor?" I was like, "Sponsors? Like, is this an NIL situation?" I don't have any corporate sponsors. But what they were really meaning is who's carrying you through this process, who's helping you make the connections, getting the resources. And all I could say was Jesus. That's who my sponsor is right now. Yes. But to know that is a part of a process that many do not connect with in having a sponsor, I think is incredibly important. Now, I don't know that it's wise to go out, with a sign and say, "I'm looking for a sponsor." No. But I think, when it comes down to developing and furthering mentorship relationships, those sponsors can come out of that when they know what you want to accomplish in life and they're willing to be a part of it with you, which is why we talk about our purpose and being fit. We got to know what we want. And sometimes we get so accustomed to doing what others want us to do that we neglect what we want and the value we know we can add. And it kind of hijacks our purpose in a way where we don't want to show up as our authentic selves because we're out of practice in being that authentic self.
And I think what Paula describes is someone saw her and saw her ability and recognized her worth. And a lot of times in workplaces, that does not happen. So people being comfortable enough to really see someone in a workplace matters greatly. And when those opportunities are created, people then feel better about their contributions when they can show up as their authentic self. I've been through all of the cycles over the years, the different transitions of we're going to be a melting pot, and now DEI, soft skills, the whole gamut. I've seen it all over the years. But at the end of the day, it is about humility, and it is about being curious, and it is about being intentional and creating those spaces so everyone can thrive in a place. Because you can take Target, for example, that if we shift where we invest our resources and time and effort and energy, that can affect major bottom lines. So taking a whole group of people for granted and not really leveraging their gifts and talents when they are out here to contribute and make a difference in the world, you're missing a great opportunity when you don't embrace it.
I mean, advertisers see the opportunity. When we look at ads for the Super Bowl or day to day, watching our shows, we see our representation there. It's not there because they want to diversify
Exactly.
the field.
Because it's a nice thing to do.
Because it's a nice thing to do. We see us there because
dollars.
they identify our power and our ability to purchase what they're selling. And so if others see it, sometimes it's hard for us to see it. But the next thing that I want to chat about is, and this will kind of carry us on out for this conversation. There's 300,000 Black women, more than 300,000 Black women who've left the workforce this year. But there's so many who are still in it. Cannot neglect the ones who are still in it. And so whether they're out or they're in, it's challenging, it's hard.
It is.
May feel burnout, may feel betrayal, may experience mental health challenges as a result, may question our ability to perform and our purpose, so on and so forth. And so I'm curious from you all, what are some things that you all do to manage the shifts, the ebbs, the flows, and the changes related to your career journey?
Okay, so this might not answer your question. I was kind of thinking about where you were starting with the question, so I apologize if this is
Take it where you want
not
to take
spot
it.
on. But I think for women that are in the workforce, or even women that, and I guess so by workforce, that could mean, do you mean like a W-2 employee, or do you mean like a consultant?
It could be anything, because we've got
so
all
working.
the things.
Okay, all right, yes,
Because
there's more than
just
one way.
amongst the four of us here, we have connections to entrepreneurship.
Yeah, and so we're all working. Yeah, so we are part of the workforce. Okay, I just wanted to make sure that we're still part of the workforce.
Absolutely.
So be it W-2 employee, consultant, entrepreneur, and I think for Black women, knowing what your purpose is, and staying true to that. And if your purpose is to, I'm just going to keep it cool till it's time to go. Okay, but if your purpose is, and I think this is mine, so I'm revealing something about myself, is I'm not done yet. I still have places to go and things to do and impact to make. So keeping that in the forefront and being an advocate for yourself, though, because I always thought there was a magic fairy that would come and say, boom, I can tell you want this promotion, so there you go. Or, wow, boom, I knew you wanted to move to this company. And there are no magic fairies, or maybe there's only one, and they're in another country. So you've got to make the opportunity for yourself. And I think this is also part of that fit for purpose is, what do I want to do? Can I get it at this organization? And know what that is. And it might not be a title. It might be what makes me feel good. What makes my eyes sparkle when I do it? Or after I've done it, I've been like, yes. It might be building a killer spreadsheet. It could be creating a data analytic program that brings in the right type of data. It could be having that conversation and being able to negotiate with someone and get them to say, okay, I think I'm going to do that deal. Whatever that thing is that makes your eyes sparkle and makes you say yes and energizes you, let that be your guide in what you do next. If you want to be promoted and move up, tell somebody that. Don't tell your buddy that's sitting next to you who can't help you, but tell your boss, tell HR, tell your boss's boss, and if they don't give you a good answer, like, well, we'll see what happens. Because I've gotten a lot of that. Well, I don't know. I haven't thought about your future. That's a problem. If you want something more for yourself. So you got to decide how important is, what are my goals? And set yourself up for that. And ask, this is what I want to do. What do I need to do to get there? And when they tell you, have them write it down. And you write it down. And make sure that those goalposts don't move so that when you've done it, you can say, all right, where are we now? And, the hope is that the goalposts don't move. Well, now you need to do this.
Yeah, but they do.
They do, but you got to start somewhere.
Yes.
You have to start somewhere. And having something really concrete and written is a great start. And I think for organizations also, when they do performance evaluations or whenever you give feedback, the people providing the feedback need to be a little better at telling you what you need to do. And the feedback needs to be more about future and not about the past and problem solving.
Yes.
So if it's like, you need
Yes.
more executive presence, okay, well then what are we going to do to get there?
Yeah, so future fit.
Yeah, future fit, not, and it shouldn't be, your feedback should not be a weapon, or it shouldn't close doors.
Exactly.
The feedback should open the doors. And that's an opportunity for the staff person and the manager to talk about yourself. So, and that's just, but you got to know what you want and make sure the feedback you're getting is going to get you there, and make sure everything you're doing is ultimately taking you to what you want for yourself in that organization. And if you know it's not going to work, you got to make a decision.
Yeah. Because you can't force your manager to be on your team, right?
Right.
No, you can't.
They're either on it or they're not.
Or they're not. And it's up to you what you want to do. And sometimes it takes making the tough decision
Yeah.
and relying on yourself to get you where you want to be, rather than waiting for someone in the company who has decided, well, we don't care if a black woman leaves. Oh, we have black women? What? They're gone? What? So it's taking it on yourself if you're ambitious. If you're cool to coast, great. But you could get caught there too.
And sometimes it's good. That's a good seasonal experience, right? Because
Yeah.
we get so caught up in work, and then
Exactly.
oh my gosh, I don't have a whole lot to do right now, and I feel like I'm inadequate. Wait, just breathe. Just breathe. Sometimes those breathers are important.
They are. They are. And progress or advancement. So now I'm getting into people that want to advance, because I think this matters for women that want to advance, like all of us. Because some women are like, hey, the less is more.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
For people who are looking for more, also look for opportunities. Advancement doesn't mean in your vertical. It doesn't mean advance. You don't always have to advance in your little silo. You could advance across.
And
So-
experiences.
It's yes, and make yourself. I'm an accountant, but I've had an opportunity to do strategy. I've worked in the members division, so and that's a different type of advancement because it's broadening who you are as a professional. So moving up doesn't just mean in your little silo. Oh, now I'm a manager. Now I'm a senior manager in this little bitty silo. It could go sideways, and that's building you up so that when you realize I've outgrown this organization, you've got more that you can take with you.
You said a couple of really important points. I think about feedback and evaluations and how oftentimes when we're getting feedback, it's what we did in the past that we can't change. And so coaching in the moment and future forward is what would be more value added. So as corporations look at their evaluation systems, look at what can you do now to help someone go where they want to go. And then when I think about purpose and goals, sometimes we don't know where we want to go. So we just go anywhere the day takes us in a specific day. So I think thinking about what it is we want to do and write that vision and make it plain. So even if we don't share it outside of a certain spot, we know who we need to talk to, how we need to show up, what kinds of things that we need to do that make us feel that joy, or how do we know when we're feeling psychologically safe in a space. Taking that breath, maybe taking a walk, reaching out to people that you know care about you and value your gifts and talents. And sometimes speaking someone's name in another space, might help someone. I've noticed that a lot of sisters suffer in silence because of the shame, because they might be hurting, because they're not making the money that they once did. And they're looking for that opportunity, but sometimes it's hard to ask.
Yeah.
So just trusting that people can be a good enough friend to someone to feel the energy and just offer. Even if somebody doesn't ask you, you just never know. One of my friends was a recruiter, and she was recruiting people off of jobs that they already had because they were looking at the opportunities that were available at other companies. And they were seeing them sharing articles on LinkedIn or doing business classes or what have you. And as they were recruiting and searching, you might have been comfortable in the job that you had. But boom, someone is sending you an email and saying, hey, would you be interested in this consulting job? Those sorts of things. So just sharing your gifts and talents, no matter where they are. You never know where those opportunities could lead you.
I love the emphasis on essentially demanding that feedback and that critical feedback and not being afraid of it. Really, because again, doctors are practicing every day, lawyers are practicing every day, and so we've got to imagine that leadership in corporate America is practicing every day. And because there's so few Black women in this space, as it relates to leadership, they're out of practice. And so leadership may not even know how to have that conversation, that critical conversation with us. But if we create that space to say, this is what we want, these are our expectations to get this feedback because this is where we want to advance, then it's going to help us in the long run. And if there's folks listening that are like me, you keep the plan close to your chest. Like nobody gets to see it except for me and God and maybe a couple other people. But perhaps we got to be okay.
Got to be a little more open.
We got to be open with sharing our plan and being confident. It's not going to be perfect. And there's going to be some missteps. There will be things that we have on the list that we may not get to, or there may be shifts that happen with it. But we got to start with something. And carry on in light of being imperfect beings, because what else are we going to do?
And there is no magic fairy.
There isn't.
There isn't. And you've got to, if you want something, you might have to say something. And say it to the people who can make a difference. Telling your friends, because that's just a complaining session, but this is what I want. And you get that feedback that's about, you made this mistake back then. Okay, great. I won't do that again. What do I need to do to move forward? And I think that's going to be tough for a lot of supervisors or people providing feedback because they don't know how to do that. Because it's easy to talk about the past. It is tough to talk about the future, but that shouldn't be your problem.
Paula, I feel like you've been vocal in the workplace forever. And so they're not going to get you in a situation where you're mincing words. Where have you gotten your confidence in your character in being vocal, but still being vocal in a way that's going to lead to an outcome that you prefer?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because there was two things I was going to add to all the great feedback that was given. But I will tell you, when I started in my career here in Iowa in 2006, I wasn't vocal.
I can't imagine that.
No, I wasn't vocal. Actually, my vocal was too overpowering coming from the East Coast. So I had to learn how to communicate just a little bit different because I'm a very direct person. And that's just, it doesn't work with everybody. So I had to understand that everybody has different communication styles. And if you want to be in a leadership position, you have to understand how to effectively communicate with different styles, right? But I will tell you, it was the ERG that built the confidence for me because I networked.
What are
quite a
ERGs?
bit. The Employee Resource Group. So I networked quite a bit with the Black African American Connection. I was in rooms that most team members were not. Because of the position I held with the ERG. So that allowed me to be in the room with the CEO, present to the CEO of the financial institution, be in the room with the head of the departments. But here's the thing, for some reason, they really liked my energy. And they liked that when they would ask me a question, I would give them the truth. I want to give them what they wanted to hear. So I was one who would say, no, y'all biased. No, the stereotypes going on. No, the reason why black people don't want to mess with y'all because we don't trust y'all. I mean, but they wanted to hear that. I would get calls, Paula. And as soon as I heard that, I said, I know this is going to be a cultural question. I could tell by the tone, right? But they felt comfortable enough with me knowing that I was, and I didn't come off angry about it. I just came out, I'm just telling y'all facts. This is just what's happening. This is what team members are scared to say because of retaliation, because of fear that if they actually speak up, now they're going to have a problem in their department. Whereas I got into the point, I had created such strong relationships that I didn't fear retaliation. If anything, they were grateful I would tell them something and tell them and just be honest with it. So get yourself in spaces, to everything that was said here, to where get out your comfort zone and network and get to know people who don't look like you, who don't agree with you, who don't think like you, who don't walk like you, who don't have the same experiences as you. Appreciate them for who they are, just like you want them to appreciate you for who you are. But here's something I'm going to challenge to my people of color. Being a leader in leadership, there's two things I'm going to say to you. Number one, when you elevate, pay it forward. Don't forget about other people. Be that voice for other people. Be that space for other people to come into. I'm not saying you got to give everybody a job. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is be that refuge that people can come to and have a conversation with, because now you have a different level of power and influence to get things done, to get things to change. And number two, watch how you behave, because unfortunately, back to bias, this is what's going to happen. You get into one of those positions and you do something reckless. You now have ruined it
For everybody else.
for everybody else
Everybody
who's
else.
coming in after.
But
because of
have
that
we
bias.
ruined it? Have we though?
So this is what I see.
Oh,
So when I talk about corporate, yes, I've seen it too much. And you're talking about have we ruined it currently now?
Well, I say in general because you're speaking specifically to people of color, right? When a white man leading a Fortune 500 company like screws the pooch, in 6 months he's at another Fortune 5,
Pretty much.
And he didn't ruin it for black or for white women or white men across the
I'm
country.
sorry, did you say screws the pooch?
Yeah.
She said she sure did. She sure did.
When
So
he
if you
did-
use that same analogy for if a black person were to
even know
do
what
that,
that
but
means.
whether black women or male, have they ruined it for others, or can they even go to another Fortune 500?
They can't.
Deidre, they can't.
They can't.
Because I've
Right.
seen it. I've actually seen this play out twice
Yeah.
in my career, where somebody really high in an organization ruined it. I was in the conversations afterwards. I heard the app because I was in enough of a leadership position to be at the table. Oh, so you see, this is what we thought they
See,
were going
this
to
is-
see. We
yep.
gave them a chance.
Yeah.
That goes back to
Yeah.
that bias, and that within the system, equity isn't embedded into that
No.
system.
It's just
When
there.
someone can look at one person
That
and
part.
then place a label on everyone within that group. It does happen, and I've
And that's
seen
why we need
it a lot.
numbers or something that's not
That-
bias based. That is
Yes.
the truth. That speaks truth.
Data
that you can point
with
to.
integrity and humility. And then allowing ourselves also to take rest, to allow ourselves to have grace, to set reasonable boundaries, but know kind of where we want to go. Set some goals, build those networks of trust and support.
Hold yourself accountable. Have other people hold you accountable.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then know joy is medicine.
It sure is.
Feeling good,
Sure is.
knowing, really taking time to know what does give you joy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sometimes we're so busy moving around trying to
Yes.
impress. Really, what gives you your greatest joy? Do you know? You know, I didn't know what that was for myself for many years. And I got stumped on that question. And I said, I need to slow it down. And I need to take a moment and really think about that. So as I look at the things that are happening in the world, I go back to that joy. I have a gratitude jar that I write things that I'm grateful for every day. And in those tough moments and times, I'll pull something out and read it and remind me, you know, what I'm grateful for, what I can rely on. And giving myself that permission has helped me be calmer and be able to more effectively navigate the kinds of climates that we're going through now. Because I've seen a lot. There's probably not a situation I haven't faced or known somebody that's been through it over the years. Been in the workforce a long time. From hiring people, firing people, leading nonprofits, building companies from scratch, all the things. And then all the pieces of paper, you know, that I've had to get over the years. But in spite of all of those things, the challenges that we're hearing about, all of them have touched my life in some way over the years. So as I think about the future and where we go from here, it is twofold. I mean, things that we can do that we have control over in our sphere of influence, but also organizations being real and recognizing the gifts and talents that we all bring to the workplace and the implications when you miss out, when we walk away, when we build our own tables.
Yeah. And that's a segue into the last question. Like, what is our vision for Black women thriving in the workplace? What does that look like? And how is the workplace interacting with us in this process? What does it look like for Black women to thrive in the workplace right now? What can it look like? And what does it look like for the workplace to support Black women in their endeavors? Anyone can answer this question, because we see broken pipelines. We see for leadership, we see Black women leaving. We see loss of income to families. Like, we didn't even talk about that today. The loss of income is dramatic for families in this year. We're talking about over $1 billion in loss of income. And folks were like, well, we're not shopping on Black Friday. Yeah, because we ain't got no money to shop. Yes. So we might as well sit out. We might as well. So what does that look like for us?
I would love to see the day when we're just valued, just like everyone else, where we are respected and we are valued and we're not a stat. We're not only valued to meet a stat, to be a statistic, but we're truly valued for what we bring to the table, just like athletes. Just like athletes, you see all these different sports, how they're valued. And it would be nice in the corporate America that we have that same value, that same worth. We get paid what we're supposed to get paid. We don't have to fight for salary, especially if we have the credentials behind us. We shouldn't have to fight for that. Where I don't know if I will say I would ever be able to bring my true, like, full, authentic self to work, because there's some parts of me that don't belong in the workplace.
Just in general.
But you know,
all a work in progress.
all a work in progress. All a work in progress.
Yes.
But I would love to see that. And for organizations, what I would say is this. From what I've experienced in corporate America, for the hiring managers, please stop ghosting people. If you have somebody going through the interview process of the system, and they have put in time and effort, will you please give them some constructive feedback that can help them? Not opinion, constructive feedback with recommendations and things of that nature. That will help people not just sit here waiting to hear back for something that's not going to happen. That is a huge frustration. Back to data, I do agree, get the data to support how things need to change, data and tell a true story. So data with that integrity. And I would also say, create spaces where people feel that they can voice their concerns, voice their challenges, voice their successes, where their voice will be heard without any sort of retaliation. We got to get rid of these toxic work environments. That's what I would say at a high level.
I hope they were writing notes. Debra, what you got?
I think giving promotions beyond performative, being intentional about advancing and identifying talent early with Black women and investing in their leadership through the sponsorship and eliminating the gatekeeping, holding people down and not allowing just one way of being and one way of doing things. So in some workplaces, they call it white norming. So if you don't follow those sorts of norms that the majority adhere to, you might be vulnerable in that organization and be unable to thrive. I think organizations also must repair trust, that acknowledging the past harm and disparities and demonstrating humility in how they rebuild their pipelines, because representation without power is insufficient. So sometimes a lot of the roles were created and you were representing a group of people but really didn't have the power to affect any change. And true repair requires structurally embedding equity in hiring, pay, retention, and promotion, and succession planning. And that is often not done. And I think about giving feedback with clarity, and that's clear, that can really be used as a way for continuous improvement and creating that space and opportunities for those individuals who want different challenges. It may be across company lines. It may not necessarily be to move up, but to really feel challenged and to feel like I'm being value added where I am. So that's what I would offer.
What do you have, Artist?
I got a couple.
Okay.
So I guess for Black women in the workforce, just that competence is assumed. It is not questioned out the gate, because I feel like we come improving. But why do we have to do that? Does anybody else have to prove? Just assume we got it. Just like the person next to me. Also that we don't have to be exceptional to succeed. All right? We just need to be qualified and committed, like everybody else.
Exactly.
Like everyone else. The myth that there aren't enough qualified people to come into the gap. Well, no, you got them, but you're just retaining them. You need to retain them and advance and promote them. There's plenty there. You just got to work with the ones you got. Yeah. Bring them in and work with them. Don't get them there and just have them sitting in some whatever position. Also making sure that we are moving Black women into positions that are not optics, but actually business driving positions, roles that drive the business, that makes those P&L decisions that actually are strategic decisions, more than just positions where you're really not doing that. Important to the company, but not really business drivers. Also, to normalize to normalize Black leadership.
Yeah.
So that's just a normal thing, not just the unusual thing. I think part of that is to not have the one, but create a cohort, right? So I've heard this before. Yeah. Putting one person on isn't enough. You need three, so that doesn't look like a token, but it becomes normal. It becomes normal. And I think finally, and this may be more just for me, but not feeling like you have to code switch or feeling like you need to downplay your expertise or justify your value. And well, maybe, I don't know, maybe it is, I deserve to be here, or I did do something wrong. And
gotta be humble.
Yeah, like maybe. And I think I told you a little bit of this yesterday, and it was my daughter yesterday or over the weekend who said, because I would think, oh, well, what's happened to me or where I'm at right now is because of my own shortcomings or because of my, maybe I'm just not that good or that great. But it was my daughter who's like, I don't understand, man. You are like the smartest, the most degreed person. You've done this and that. You've traveled the world. You've done work all across the country. And so-and-so's getting the opportunity? Like, I don't understand that. And that's why I think it comes, talking to other people and knowing, okay, as powerful as I am, I don't control everything, and there are things happening outside of me that goes beyond me, and that's where the bias comes in. And it's great to know, oh, well, maybe I am smart, but then it's also sad to know, oh, shoot, there's nothing I can do about it. But I think what we're talking about is how to do something about that and know you are enough, you are smart enough, you are accomplished, and, not but, you are accomplished, and this is the world we're in. We can't say we didn't know, because we know, and you can't wait for the magic fairy. You got to get in there, know what you want, know what you're passionate about. You can't do it alone.
No,
And lead
you
You cannot do it alone. You need the help of people, and probably ones who don't look like you.
That part.
Yes.
Because they're the ones who make the decisions. And that's where you got to know how to network. People need to know who you are. And you could bring yourself. You're awesome. You should totally bring yourself. And that's why they like hearing you say what you have to say, because you say it in a way that's not offensive and threatening.
That's you.
But it's just sort of like, oh, wow, okay, really? I didn't know that. So just, we are that. And a bag of chips or whatever. I don't know, probably, you may have to edit that part out. But
Nope.
we can't, the world is what it is. And if you want more, you gotta work for it. And you can't do it alone.
You cannot do it alone. You know, I think the prescription that we have kind of laid out today could be equated to any aspect of our lives as Black women, our health, our families, right? Where we feel like we have to bear the cross and carry the burden for so many
Get
reasons.
off
Like
the cross.
Yes, if something happened wrong, it must be me.
Right,
But-
exactly. What did I do wrong?
What did I do
oh
wrong?
my gosh.
What did I do wrong? And, you know, I definitely appreciate having this conversation with you all, because it's very clear that the four of us have experienced this in more ways than one. And sharing it amongst the four of us hopefully will encourage other women to share it, so that they realize that they're not alone. I mean, at the end of the day, Black women don't want to be feared, right? We want to be cheered on.
Yeah.
And we also don't want to be subjected to being someone that we're not. We want to be our authentic selves and be comfortable in that authentic journey. I think there's so much room for us in this world.
Yes.
So much value that we can add to this world. I think about you comparing us to an athlete. Man, don't compete against me. Just compete with me, right?
Yes.
I go back to sports. I'm not a Kansas City Chiefs fan, but I have to talk about Patrick Mahomes. I'm not trying to throw the ball 100 yards. I'm not capable of that. But I'm going to recognize that you can do that, and I'm going to cheer you on.
And leverage you.
And then leverage you.
Yeah, without having to shrink. That part, you know, I just feel like sometimes we feel like we have to shrink, that we've done something wrong. We have to code switch. We have to change how we navigate spaces because we don't want to make people uncomfortable. We want to be light.
Yes.
You know, all those sorts of things. Why can't I just be good at what I'm good at and leverage you for your gifts and you and everyone else?
And have you leverage me for what I've got. And you said something that was interesting. I think you said we want to be valued. But we're already valuable.
Yes.
So we are valued, but we want to be valued in a different way. So our families value us. I mean, I think we are valued in a society in a certain way,
That's good.
which is probably what they're comfortable with, but we want more.
Yeah.
We want to be valued for the other aspects of who we are and what we're doing.
Yeah,
Where it's
value
not-
and worth isn't under negotiation.
Right, that's what I was going to say. It's not political, it's not optional, it's not seasonal, but it's the standard.
Exactly.
Why not?
Exactly.
Us.
Come on.
So that's what
We are
comes to my
not
mind.
seasonal. We're a standard.
Yeah, we are the standard.
we're not seasonal.
You know, but in this climate now, it is been weaponized, politicized.
It's ridiculous. And it makes you feel really bad.
Yes.
But you have to know what your worth and your purpose is and not let anybody else define that. And that's where, for me, when I do life coaching, that's what I have to get people to keep understanding. you have to value yourself
Yep.
before anybody else is going to value you. And so a lot of people have been beat down so much that value is kind of been shaken,
compromised.
right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that's where you need your system. That's where you need your tribe, just like your daughter did. My daughter's and my son has done the same thing to me. Mom, you know you all of that. You better go out there and make that money. Make it for us too, so we can get something. But you need to go out there and handle your business. Don't let anybody tell you what you can or cannot do. Right? We've got to get away from that too. And we as Black women just consistently need to build each other up. We've got to be there for each other because I will tell you, was it last Friday or when was your Friendsgiving? Was it last Friday?
Last Friday, the Friday before last.
The Friday before that, look, I had to send a text and an email to Debra and Lindsay, and this thing hurt my soul. I couldn't do it. I needed a mental health day. I was not okay. I was not okay. I was hit with so much that week. I was not okay. And I didn't feel like being around people. I actually didn't feel my energy would have been good for what that event was meant for. Let me put it that way. Because I was dealing with myself. But they gave me grace. And I was volunteering. And I felt horrible because I can't stand making a commitment and not doing it. But I just knew.
You couldn't do it?
No.
Knowing that is powerful, though.
And Lindsay held me up. She's like, I got you. I will take over. Immediately said, I will take over what you're doing. But to your point, knowing that I could do that without having any retaliation or them thinking any less of me or my value being shrinked or diminished is huge. And we have to do that more.
That's the village.
Sometimes you got to stand in the gap.
But you know what? I think so many women come across that, and I know we're going on a little bit of a tangent, but some women wouldn't even bring that up, right? Or they might ghost and just say, I'm just not going to show up because of the shame that comes with I'm not living up to the commitment versus just taking the bull by the horn. I'm not perfect. I'm exposing an imperfection to an imperfect being, and we're going to carry on. I think so often we get so focused on the opposition, and we're not focused on our plan. That's why we get caught up. That's why we don't have enough time to focus on who we are, because we're defending our existence. That we can't fathom spending time talking about ourselves to ourselves, right? We're defending versus having a game plan. If we just focus on defending all of our lives, we can do that 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, because the opposition will always be there. What do they used to say back in the day? Haters gonna hate. That is always going to be there. But no one's going to operate the plan that advances our purpose
beyond that.
Us.
That's right.
Nobody's going to do that. And so
we want to be supported holistically, compensated equitably, and just having an opportunity to really be leveraged in the way that contributes to the well-being of any space that we choose to occupy. That's real. When you can really feel like you can walk in the space and be that, that trust exists in that space, that you're not going to be judged unfairly because today I felt like I needed to take a mental health day for myself. You know, just knowing what you need is important.
Yeah.
And sometimes we don't define what that looks like too. So we don't know, and we get caught up because the stories we tell ourselves
That part
does become our truth.
It does.
Well, that's an episode for another day. Ladies, thank you. Thank you so much for being here with us, and thank you for listening. I'm going to sum it up based on what Ms. Debra said earlier. You are not a statistic. You are not seasonal. You are the standard, honey. So go live your life. Thank you for connecting with us on another episode of Green Room. We hope to see you on another day.